I think the whole Grant Cardone thing for me is relevant. It's about you're either being sold to or you're doing the selling.
Yeah,
that's it. There's no sort of in between, right? Hey everybody, say hello to Luigi and Lily. We're live yet again.
Hello.
This is my mate on LinkedIn Live, Carl.
Get out of it, really?
Yeah, I've never done LinkedIn Live before, mate.
Have I just popped your cherry? Yeah. I popped JD's cherry as well on Friday.
Oh, did you? Hey, we did the karaoke cherry as well last year.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, Lily, you don't know this, but Luigi and I first met in Melbourne with Dancing Diana. There was Kiki. Who else was there? There was Ahmed.
Ahmed
Tima was there. Oh man,
Rana was, a lovely friend.
And I was as drunk as a skunk, and we were rapping. And
of course you were.
Well, I didn't drink at all. I didn't have anything to drink. I was sober as anything.
Really?
Yeah, you were so drunk.
The worst way to do karaoke.
Oh no! And you were singing Eminem like it was going out of fashion. I literally, you were so good.
Yeah, no, I was. Yes, I did. I was intoxicated with you, Carl. So I'm lucky Kiki took me home. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have got home.
Yeah, I think that's true. I remember vaguely being in the back of a car with you guys.
Is this a great conversation for LinkedIn Live, isn't it?
Oh, look, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's reality, Luigi. And I think some of the things that I really love about your work and what you do, and I'm going to get you to introduce yourself because there is an art to selling, and a lot of people they jump into it and they go yeah, and then they slag it off, or they bag it and they don't really understand it. For me, I've been in sales for 20 odd years, and I know Lily's been around sales for all of her life. Yeah. That's about 20 years too, right, Lily? and I just know right now there's a message that needs to get out. And I saw your post today on LinkedIn. I wanted to discuss it because, when I saw it, I sort of felt a little bit of anger inside me because I thought, how can people be saying stop cold calling? I mean, what are you talking about? It does not make sense to me. I mean, I know from our perspective at Meet Magic, with Meet Magic, there, I can't even point to it there. At that company there, we are connecting people in business. And I know a lot of our clients they're concerned about cold calling, and we've addressed them with them. They've said things like, we get anxious about cold calling when people are at home because we don't know if they've got their baby in their hand or whatever they're doing. So let's discuss this post that you put up there because it was totally relevant, and I think I think if you're in sales, everyone should hear it. Everyone should hear this.
Yeah, I think
100%.
The motivation behind the post is, and I don't know why the argument still occurs, right? But there are obviously some people that will benefit from the noise of stop cold calling, and so the ones that are there to sell their own solution or their benefit from that narrative are the ones pushing this certain message. And in my opinion, when you look at all the data, I mean, I'm a big data guy, so I like to review data. I like to see what cold emails are working, what cold calling strategies are working. You look at data. Data is a great way to make decisions. Now, all the data is telling us that this stuff still works. Of course, things don't work, but when you execute poorly, when there's no strategy, when there's no thought behind it, when the message is just completely irrelevant, even if you're trying to build inbound, it ain't going to work. So inbound, I work with businesses that have strong inbound lead. They spend a lot of money, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a month on inbound. Now, some of them have really, really low conversions. So just because you've got an abundance of inbound leads doesn't mean they're converting, because it's very difficult to define if they're low interest, high interest, right? It's actually very difficult to define that at the top of the funnel buying process. So if you're trying to scale a business and you're trying to keep a whole team fed of inbound, you have to spend a lot of money, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to convert well. So if you look at some of the, the largest organizations, LinkedIn, Salesforce, there's all these businesses, if they say that they are conducting some form of cold outreach, It's part of their channel strategy. It's part of their lead generation strategy, right? So, you know, if you're hearing that message to say stop cold calling, the problem is, especially right now, inbound leads have completely dried up. Like, not completely, but there's the volume of people searching has dropped. And so if you're going to wait for people, unfortunately, you're going to go quite hungry.
Well, I mean, this goes back to my my whole philosophy of being a lion in the zoo, and I don't see you as a lion in the zoo at all. I see you as a lion in the jungle, because I would guarantee if Luigi was in the jungle right now, he'd be eating. He wouldn't be sitting around waiting for the gazelle to run past him. He'd be jumping on that gazelle and eating it. So tell us about your business, because your business is about sales training, right? And I know I've always said, and we've got to do this, we've got to get together on this, because we've basically are putting salespeople in front of senior execs.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that when they go into, and a lot of these sales guys are seasoned already, but some of them aren't. Some of them, and we're always learning. I think as human beings, we always need to be evolving and skilling up. And no matter how much experience you've got in sales, you can always still keep learning. That's my philosophy. So tell us about your business, because I think there's a lot of value to what you do and how it, and what we do. Yeah,
so I appreciate the opportunity to chat about what I do. So, obviously founded a company called Sales IQ Global, and our whole premise for existence is help sales professionals be the best they can be. So we have a sales enablement platform which distributes online content, and that content, has been designed to help sellers understand their ideal customer profiles, their buyer personas, how to create the right value narrative, how to talk the language of leaders. How to build a sales plan and actually understand your performance metrics and how to achieve your sales target. So the platform has been designed around, not just the tools and the competencies required to be successful, but then it enables them to apply the learning in real life. So there's adult learning principles built within the platform. And we also provide coaching to embed the learning so that, sellers can not just learn about a concept, but they can apply and receive coaching that really embeds and sustains and develops new habits. If you look at some of the highest performing salespeople around the world, they all have, one major characteristics that separate them from the rest. They're constantly learning and constantly trying to improve their craft. And I was fortunate to interview the number one sales person in the world for selling the most cars in a year, named Ali Redder. He broke Joe Girard's record, sold almost 1,700 new cars. Right, ridiculous,
really.
In Detroit, in Motor City, and when it was just an incredible experience. And when speaking to him, his fundamental mind, everything that he spoke about was about mindset, right? It's about being empathetic for the customer. Was about being in part of his community, and always learning, always finding a way to learn and improve. Now, this is a guy that has achieved incredible results. So, even when I hear that, we've got a seasoned sales team, etc. But the question is, what are they doing to continue to learn and be the best they can be? And again, I've had the pleasure to interview some incredible people for my podcast, and they're always learning. They're always looking at ways to improve. And that's why I love the correlation between high-performing salespeople and athletes, because athletes the high performers share that same characteristic and that same mindset for growth and development.
And you know what? Like any high-performing athlete, they've got a coach. I don't know any high-performing athlete that doesn't have a coach. And if you want to be a high-performing salesperson, get yourself a bloody coach. It's that simple, right? So how's things changed over the past few years? Selling, God, I've come from the old telco days, so for us, we just turn up and throw up. It's obviously changed. What's been the most significant change over the past few years?
Look, often I get asked this question, and if I look at this is a couple of books that I'll reference, right? This is a book, I don't know how many years old. It's called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And this is an old book, and there's another great book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by the great Dale Carnegie. Now, that book was written in 1936, right? If you look back at some of the old historians and the legends of our industry, like Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, Dale Carnegie, there are so many to name. When you think about what they spoke about, about the premise of building relationships and selling, the actual concept hasn't changed, right? We first got to build some form of relationship. There's got to be rapport there, yeah? There's got to be a level of trust. We've got to earn the right to understand what our customers' needs are. And then when we earn the right to understand our customers' needs, we are then in a position to help them solve a problem, right? I mean, this book, you know, the great one, another book, you know, Spin Selling. Spin Selling, right? Miller Hyman. Like, these books have been around for a long time. And so, again, you know, a lot of people show up and throw up. They still do it today.
A lot of those books, I was reading Outwitting the Devil on the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in sales for how many years? And that one book in itself it should become a sales Bible, because I think, back to your post, I think a lot of people are driven by fear of not making a cold call. I think they're scared. And it's that fear that's stopping things, and that is stopping them from picking up the phone and making a call, for sure.
But you know, the position I take on this is, if I'm very clear about the ideal customer profile, right, and I know the buyer persona that I'm there to serve, yeah, and I do my research and have a bit of an understanding that a particular industry or a particular sector or something that I've researched about them going through a process of growth or period of growth, if I know that they could potentially have a problem and I could help them fix that problem, what's wrong with me reaching out to them unsolicited to say, hey, you know, I have some ideas on how you can grow, given that you've just, you know, raised another round of funding to grow in this new market. What's wrong with me having that conversation with a C-level executive about that, if I can help them fix a problem or help them achieve a strategic objective? How is that?
Do you still see customers pulling back on that and saying, no, we can't do it right now under COVID? I mean, under this new world that we're living in.
Well, I spoke to a pretty large recruitment firm last week. I rang the CEO at 12:30. After 3 rings, he answered, right? And we had a 10-minute conversation. It was unsolicited. Sure, I could notice that he, you know, some of his business has been looking at my profile and my posts, but he hasn't actually said, please call me. So he hasn't filled out any form, or he hasn't sent me a DM to say, call me. And when I spoke to him, we had a really, really good conversation. You know, I have a bunch of those conversations. I'm actively using combo prospecting behind me, right? Because Tony Hughes is part of my business, is part of our business. And his concepts are used by, you know, some of the largest organizations in the world, and they work. They're proven, tested models that work. But, you know, just like anything, if you don't do your research and you're not researching the buyer persona, and you're purely just going out there with a message that serves yourself as a salesperson, expect to get some barriers, expect to get rejected. Because if you've done no research, then you haven't earned the right to have any level of conversation with a prospect.
It comes down to it strikes me as though it comes down to people that are in sales just for the money, or they're in sales for the love of doing what they're doing. And often when you're in sales just for the money, it comes across like that. But when you've got a real passion about what you actually do, and I know you do about your work, so I wouldn't even call it your work. I'm calling it, this is your art, because it is a complete art. I mean, look, just have a look at the books, Lily. You know.
Yeah, I know.
You don't hate what you do and read that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're fortunate. We're fortunate that these people behind me, and there's many others that have decided to put their time into putting great content out there. And, you know, if you want it, you can find it. And even now more than ever, we've got access to so much free content online, on YouTube, etc. Like, the content's out there. It's whether we make the decision to try to use that content.
How's automation going to change all this, Luigi? Because I know, you know, today, I mean, even we're using a little bit of it. Even I can post a link somewhere and have my my business pop up in front of the people with tracking. I know we can get purchase intent, you know, quite easily now. We can do reverse IP lookup on websites, just to show that Luis has actually been on my site, and then I can automate some outreach response to get the person, you know, even more interested. So by the time I pick up the phone and call them, they're completely halfway down the sales funnel. How's that changed your world? Is it much?
I love automation, right? I work with some tools that automate the sales process. I work with some tools that help make it easier for me to develop my lists of people that I'm going to engage with, right? It's not like back in the day where we had to, do a whole ton of research, IBIS World, buy reports, building your target list was actually a full-time job. We can do that now in like 10 minutes. There are tools out there that integrate with Sales Navigator. They can give you some intel on your on your prospects and help you build lists within minutes based on your ideal customer profile. So how is automation? I mean, Tony talks about it's called TQ, technical quotient, knowing how to leverage technology to enable you to be a high performer. Just on that though, people buy from people. Now, we're assuming that everybody knows they have an answer to their problem. They know what their problem is. And so there's some companies that when you reach out to them, you want to start a conversation and you want to help them get to a point there's the unrecognized need. And great sellers drive value for helping a business determine their unrecognized need that's stopping them from, thriving or elevating or whatever it could be, right? And some of the largest deals that I've worked on from a strategic selling perspective were developed based on working with an organization that didn't actually know the answer to their problem.
Yeah.
And we had to work together on doing a business case, and we worked together on identifying the problem. And you know what? That's not new. Miller Hyman talks about that with blue sheets. Strategic selling. That stuff's been around for decades.
God, I used to hate those.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a fan now. I mean, I think it's evolved from there. But there are so many concepts around that. So, when I look at how we buying change, absolutely, buying's changed because now we can't just be a salesperson that provides information. We've got to do a lot more than that. We've got to be creating value. We've got to be building relationships, and we've got to help customers choose us. Okay, so we have to help them through the buying process. That's absolutely paramount.
Yeah, I think the whole Miller Hyman stuff. I think I've done about 15 courses of that. And every time we go over to the US as part of the sales induction, it'd all be Miller Hyman. And the one thing that really stuck out to me always was the one-legged stool strategy. You've got one person that you know inside the company, and you just spent 8 months going to lunch with them, and then all of a sudden they've left. Now what are you going to do?
Then you start.
Yeah, and I see this all the time, but it's I think the skills that you get from that whole stuff, that structure you get from that whole strategic selling is really discipline. Basically, I think the biggest deal I ever did was with Cable and Wireless. It was a £36 million 6-year contract, 64% EBIT in it over 6.5 years, I think it was, and that was a big deal. It was meant to be the big, it was a huge deal, but it was multiple engagements that you have to have. I mean, literally, I remember the founder of the company, when by the time he joined the final video call, I think I was in London at the time. I flew over to London to finish off the deal, and Neil joined the video call here from Sydney, and he looked at me on the video call and goes, "Carl, is that you?" He had no idea it was me throughout the whole sales cycle, but I knew as soon as we get to the final 20 end of that deal, he's going to feel really comfortable.
But just on what you're saying, like Gartner revealed some information. I think it's increased, but like there's between 7 to 9 buyers in the decision-making process for some of these larger type deals. Like when you're selling to sort of, SME, SMB, you're kind of only 1 or 2 decision makers because they're a small entity. But when they're mid-market to tier 1, there's quite a lot of people involved in the decision-making process. It's not like, and there is a lot of people that are involved. And so it's crucial that you have a plan, you have a strategy to go wider and deeper, etc. But, again, that comes from practice. That comes from having a number of opportunities go south. I remember when I lost my first biggest deal, for the first 3 months, I just blamed the prospect. It was all his, right? 12 months through, we got the contract and then went to implement and something went completely wrong. It's his fault.
Yep.
Until I realized, hang on a second. It was my fault. It was the way that I handled. It was the way that I spoke to him. It was the way that I didn't try to adapt my style. And it wasn't until I read a book about social styles.
It's a complete art, mate. And I remember when we first met with you, and you told me what you did and what you do as a business. I immediately resonated with it because I think there's very few people in Australia that have the passion or the background to do what you do. And it takes years of practice and skill. It takes years of failing to get to the point. Tell us a little bit about the Sales IQ business, because where's your target market? Where ultimately who are you going after?
Yeah. So I mean, we're trying. Our focus is on mid-market. Obviously, at the moment, with what's called a trigger event, Tony calls it a trigger event. There's a major trigger event that's occurred. It's impacting, it's impacting the market, businesses, etc. So we're very clear about who we're there to serve. Obviously, we want to help as many sales professionals as we can be, and we've been putting on events, webinars. We're giving away, training to people that need it, right? Because I believe first and foremost, we have a responsibility to help as many people as we can. But from a strategic perspective, our ideal customer profile is, technology business that's growing during this stage, right? And there are many businesses that are growing right now. So from a sales strategy, we're pivoting to go, they're the type of customers that we need to talk to, or businesses that are, struggling to create pipeline right now in a certain market segment, where our content and our platform will enable them to drive more pipeline. So we're very.
I think I've got loads of those I can put you in touch with, by the way. Yeah. In fact,
I'll hit you up after this.
Yeah, my good friend Shane Barr, if he's watching, he's probably not, but Shane's business is one of those businesses that's doing that. It's a little bit like they do online forms and customer experience stuff.
Yeah.
Small little company, got great potential. Right now, I think every company should be looking at it, but they don't have a strategy on outreach.
Yeah.
And
you absolutely need it. Like I spoke to a gentleman on the weekend. He was VP of growth for an organization that sold to Google for $2.8 billion. And, he scaled that through outreach, through cold emails, through an SDR function. And now he's moved to another business. And I can't wait to drop that podcast because it was awesome. Yeah. He's a sales practitioner. He's a guy he's literally driving scalable pipeline through targeted outreach strategies, right? Personalized emails, personalized, cold outreach.
Yeah.
But they're clear. He takes it all the way back. He knows his ICP. So I think for anyone that is struggling, and I've actually got a book on call reluctance, right? There's a book on call reluctance. There's pretty much a book on anything, right? But I think the trick is, just like anything, confidence comes from being competent.
Yeah.
And, so if you're not confident at something, you've got to start somewhere.
Do you know what, Luigi? My daughter is a swimmer and she's a water polo player. And I could always tell when she was going to have a good race because she would have trained in the run up to it really hard. And I know when she put 50% effort into training, she would have not a very good app. And this is completely the same. Nipsey Hussle, one of my favorite rappers, he talks about what winning is. It's where preparation meets opportunity, right? And if you're not prepared, the opportunity is not going to be there for you. You're going to miss it. You're not going to be ready.
Absolutely. And I look back. Look, I'm making. I'm going to. The one thing is you'll see what you get. I'm very honest, right? I'm making mistakes in some of my outreach attempts, but what I do, I review every day.
Yep.
And where I make mistakes is when I'm rushing the process. Okay. And that's why it's really important to keep reviewing, reflecting, and being honest with yourself and holding yourself accountable. Especially now that we're working from home, like we need to be holding ourselves accountable more than ever before.
Yeah.
So do you think, like, linking back to kind of your post about like the new era with COVID-19 and stuff like that, you were saying that like that the greatest salesmen learn, like they're constantly learning and they're constantly revising what they're doing. What do you think you can learn and revise now? Or what do you think you can learn from this and use to kind of push forward instead of pull back, which is what I feel like what your post was all about. Loads of people are pulling back and it's not a time to pull back.
I think, one thing you can learn, I think mindset plays a crucial part. I'm a firm believer that it starts with mindset. I have a very simple model, image pipeline sales. And, so many people focus on the scoreboard. But it starts with that image. And when we get image, is that what you wear? No, it's how you show up. It's your mindset. It's how you're preparing, right? It's what positive conditioning are you doing on a daily basis to prepare yourself for the day, right? It even goes back to are you reacting in the morning to emails or are you prepared the night before? Then focusing on your pipeline and really knowing the metrics required to achieve success. And if you know what they are, then the sale happens. It's magic, right? It's just like magic. But you focus on the first two components. And I think what this has taught me, especially because I've been completely, thrown for six the last 4 weeks on a personal level. I was traveling. I was in the US with a client with one of the best fitness brands in the world called F45. I was in LA working with an incredible team, and things were going sort of haywire, and I came home. Having traveling a lot, I didn't realize how important travel was to me. And being stuck at home for the past 4 weeks, my routine's completely shattered. And I've actually found myself moving below the line, right? Getting a bit negative, finding myself blaming, etc., for the position that I'm in. And so I think, what we can learn from this is, firstly, it's about us. It's about how can we build a level of resilience. Because guess what? Just because it's a COVID, right? In sales happens like this.
Yeah.
You always, I've met a few that have constantly been at the top, but there's things that just go wrong. Yeah. No matter how you prepare, no matter how good your pipe is, sometimes just things go wrong, and things that you thought were sure just fell down at the last minute. So, you've got to be prepared to be able to go, okay, like I'm going to move through that. I'm going to learn from it and move through that. I'm going to build my level of resilience. I've been fortunate that I've had a lot of deals go south, that had a lot of deals fail, but I've had a lot of deals go well. I've had sales that have been beautiful, like an art, right? And then things is just I completely stuffed it. But every deal, every opportunity is an opportunity to learn and get better at what we do, right? That's what I love about selling.
Yeah. This is the old Mike Tyson stuff, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, that's right. That's what Tony actually talks about that in his combo prospecting, right?
Me too. I live and die by that. The Eric Thomas motive. If you're not watching Eric Thomas motivation in the morning, walking around the park, you need to get your mind back in that sort of stuff, because he talks about you standing up in front of the mirror and making you accountable. You can't blame your customer. You can't blame anybody else for things not working out. Look at yourself in the mirror. And that mindset is really powerful. I'm completely with you on.
And there's an awesome entrepreneur, one of my favorite entrepreneurs, and I say this story. I told Seth Godin this when I met him last year for my podcast. When I started my podcast, I put a list of names up on my board of who I wanted to interview, and the first one was a gentleman called Justin Dry. He's a brilliant Australian entrepreneur, right? Vinamofo, and I remember seeing him speak at an event one day, and he's got this incredible routine in the morning when he gets up, and he's got this stuff in his mirror in his bathroom. And you're right, that's what he does. He looks himself in the mirror, and he's constantly getting his mindset for success. And it starts at the start of the day. So if any of you people watching or viewers, you've got to check out Justin Dry, because he's been a source of inspiration for me for a few years. And the great thing about it, he's in Australia and doing an amazing thing in the world on sort of from a global perspective.
Preparation, Luigi, is everything. I sit down every Sunday and I work out my entire week. And you know what? Yeah. Half of these people tell me, I'm too busy. I'm at home. I'm a single mum. I'm a single dad. I'm doing this, and poor me. And I go, dude, I'm a single dad too. I've got a dog. I've got to walk. I'm a single father. I've got a business. We've got a few staff down. We're trying to grow. We're trying to do exactly that. I said, don't give me complaints. I said, show me your week mapped out. Right, and you'll see all the gaps where you're not doing anything. This is where mindset comes. Preparation gives everything. Luigi, it's been amazing talking to you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for getting my first LinkedIn Live.
Dude, we are going to be on Wednesday. I turn 50. How good does this look at 50?
Oh, mate, you don't look at David Gordon.
I'm going into 50, and on my birthday, I've got 50 for 50 for 50. So what's going to happen is we're going to have 50 people, salespeople, come on LinkedIn Live here like this, and they've got a 1-minute pitch, and we're going to have 50 execs in the background watching. We'll have a couple of execs on the LinkedIn Live. I think we can have 10 people in the waiting, and I think 6 or so on the screen. So you'll be able to come and pitch. Come and pitch.
I'll pitch. Put me down for a minute.
Really, we've had a cracking start to the week already. I know we have, and it's 30 minutes already. We've had who's just signed up today?
Today, I don't even have that in front of me. Today we've had one person from Toll Group.
Oh, bang!
Can't remember the other one.
Yeah, there's been
Oh, dude, frustrating. Three amazing people, three amazing human beings. That's who they are. But unfortunately, I'm the worst with names, so I cannot remember.
That's okay. I caught you out there. Sorry about that. But we're about 200 execs now, Luigi, that have signed up.
Wow, that's amazing. And I love what you do. I love what you're about. You know, I mean, we spoke about this last year, so really appreciate you having me on LinkedIn Live with you guys. And mate, we'll speak soon.
See you soon. Take care, guys. See you,
Thanks so much for joining us.
See you, Luigi.
See ya.